Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a new Celebi card. And I tell you what, I'm going to describe this Celebi card as a game changer. And that's not exaggeration or hyperbole or clickbait or anything along those lines. When I call it a game changer, I mean it's a game changer. I mean it will make decks more viable, and there's a good chance it even ends up legitimately making decks viable. It's genuinely brilliant. In your face, Jirachi. Now, in terms of the basics here, the 70 HP sucks, it's really low, but nobody really cares. The retreat cost of 1 is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we'd rather it was free, obviously. But the retreat cost of 1 means that we can use U-turn board, and this is a card that we are going to try and get in and out the active on a very regular basis. Being able to retreat with U-turn board is huge. We saw this with Jirachi. Jirachi's got that amazing ability, Stellar Wish. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a trainer, put it in your hand, go to sleep. Oh. And when we had a skateboard to let you retreat for free, or for -1, but it was free for Jirachi, even if you were asleep or paralyzed, brilliant. But then that rotated and we still got Jirachi, but U-turn board doesn't really work because you're asleep and it's a pain. But Celebi doesn't have that problem. That's wonderful. Weakness to fire doesn't really matter. If there's anything out there doing 30, you'll survive that. Center Scorch V doesn't get a KO with its first attack. That's good. Doesn't really matter, you got terrible HP. And as for being a grass Pokemon, honestly, it's largely irrelevant. You're probably not going to be attacking unless something's gone seriously wrong. You do have access to Aroma Grass Energy, and that might be relevant. That's a special energy which means you can't be affected by special conditions, and that might genuinely be relevant. But outside, to stop you being paralyzed or asleep, and hence turning off U-turn board, otherwise, it's not that relevant, but Aroma Grass Energy could genuinely be huge here. So I keep talking about it going in and out the active, but why, Wassy? Why? Do remember there are timestamps in the description, as always. The ability says, translation by the wonderful Antoine Boulet, of course. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal an energy card you find there and put it into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Now, obviously, my first reaction and question to this was, hang on a second, does it really mean energy or does it mean basic energy? Now, Antoine has, over on Twitter, confirmed that yes, it does work for special energy, but remember, Antoine's translations are generally stunning and absolutely correct. So if Antoine says energy, it means energy, not basic energy. Let's have a little bit of faith, shall we? And this is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. In terms of getting your basic energy, yeah, fine, I suppose. I mean, I play Spiritomb, and Spiritomb plays 7 or 8 energy, and there are times we don't have the energy. So, and that is a deck that still does play Jirachi. So I whack Jirachi in the active. But if I've used my supporter for the turn, I'm probably not going to find an energy. So if I could instead whack Celebi in the active, and bearing in mind Spiritomb is a deck that's playing U-turn board anyway, that would get me the energy. And that could get me my Hiding Darkness energy, which would allow me to free retreat, which would be a pretty gosh darned good thing. I'm telling you now, if I'm still playing Spiritomb when this comes out, I will be putting 1 copy of Celebi into my Spiritomb deck. Because any deck that's playing around with switching, and remember Spiritomb's trying to use Spikemuth Stadium. That's the one that puts 2 damage on you when you go from the active to the bench. So you're playing Switch, and you're playing Scoop Up Net, and you're playing U-turn board, and then you're obviously playing Jirachi. But there are turns with Spiritomb, like with every deck, where you whiff energy. So you put a single copy of Celebi into your deck, and you're playing like 4 Quick Ball and all of that. You'll be fine. And then, if you are desperate for energy, if you're having that game, I played Excadrill the other day. I played with Excadrill. And there were 19 cards left in my deck, and I still hadn't hit one of my 7 basic energy. I lost that game, obviously. Now, whether I would play this in an Excadrill deck, probably not, if I'm honest with you, because I don't play enough switching cards. But this can work for any deck. But really, clearly, obviously, the best use for this is special energy. Because there was another game I played the other day, which was against Aeropod. Now, for those of you that might be unaware, and I don't think this is a deck we've actually covered on the channel, I think it's one of the very, very rare examples of a deck we've not actually talked about yet, so maybe I'll bring you a video in the near future, but it relies around Golisopod and Aerodactyl. Golisopod for 2 energy does 50 damage, plus 30 more for each your opponent's Pokemon V and GX in play. And Aerodactyl for 3 energy does 180 damage, as long as you've got no GX or EX in play. Though do remember you can play Pokemon V and you'll still be fine. So Golisopod blatantly wants twin energy, and Aerodactyl blatantly wants triple acceleration energy. They're special energy. And most Aeropod lists, and I can't say all of them, but most Aeropod lists will play 4 twin energy and 4 triple acceleration energy. And sometimes you'll whiff. I won a game against Aeropod the other day because my opponent whiffed energy like 4 turns in a row. They wouldn't have done that with Jirachi. Yes, there will still be times you look at the top 6 cards of your deck and you don't find an energy there. There'll be times you'll whiff with this ability, of course there will. But by the same token, you can play a Professor's Research to draw the top 7 cards of your deck, and if you whiff the energy, then you can Jirachi, and you're actually looking at the top 13 cards of your deck. And yeah, sure, you can still whiff, but it's going to be a lot less likely. Remember, of course, that Lightning decks still have Speed Lightning energy, and this is wonderful, because this is the one that when you attach it, you draw 2 cards. Although, remember, draw energy will work for anyone, but it's a colorless energy, and you only draw 1 card. It's not quite as good, but it's still there. And again, this can search out your speed energy, or draw energy, and then that will then give you extra cards, and oh look, things just got better. Think about a deck like Mad Party, the one revolving around Poltergeist and all of that. Your attackers are things like Poltergeist, things like Bunnelby. Cards, and Bunnelby can use twin energy, and Poltergeist can use either that or triple acceleration energy, but you're still talking about a deck that's only playing 8 special energy. And there will be turns they whiff. I've played a bunch of Mad Party recently, and most of them have 1 turn in the game where they whiff. And if they're taking giant 1-hit KOs on 2 and 3 prize Pokemon, they can afford to whiff. But against a single prize deck when they've got 40 and 60 HP attackers, they are going to lose those games if they whiff energy. And then, of course, we need to remember that there aren't any good alternatives. There is one, reliable way to get special energy at the moment, and it's Guzma and Hala. Guzma and Hala, if you play that and discard 2 other cards from your hand, you can search your deck for a Pokemon tool, a stadium, and a special energy. And I know that some people are going to look at this and go, just use Guzma and Hala. Really? Don't get me wrong, I know people play Guzma and Hala in some decks. I play Guzma and Hala in some decks. But the reality of the situation is, that's your only supporter for the turn, and you've got to discard 2 other cards from your hand, and that is not always something you're going to either want to do or be able to do. This is a basic Pokemon you whack in the active with a U-turn board. Do remember that Tool Scrapper's legal at the moment, but U-turn board will just bounce back to your hand if your opponent Tool Scrappers it, so it really doesn't matter. And that's why I love Celebi, and it's a game-changing card. It is an absolute game-changing card. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm wondering if some decks that play 7 or 8 energy now might cut down to 6 or 7. Cutting an energy because you've got Celebi and you know that you've got an advantage in terms of being able to search for it. Certainly any decks that either rely on or gain a significant advantage from special energy are going to absolutely adore Celebi. And I think any deck, and there are a bunch of them out there at the moment, that play cards like Switch and Super Scoop Up with Jirachi would be silly not to put a Celebi in there. Yes, I know that a lot of the time Jirachi's going to be better, but I also know there are times when Jirachi doesn't get you the energy. And if all you need is an energy, would you rather look at the top 5 cards of your deck and then have to have something like a Switch or Super Scoop Up because your Pokemon's asleep and can't retreat? Or would you rather look at the top 6 cards of your deck, knowing that you can definitely easily retreat out the active. I know which one I'd rather. I'm giving this 5 War Season. For me, this is an easy decision. This strikes me as a kind of card. I'm not saying every deck is going to play it or anything silly like that. But I am saying that a significant number of decks are going to end up significantly better as a direct result of this being in the format. The last time we had a proper way to search special energy was Energy Lotto back in Guardians Rising. Looked at the top 7 cards of your deck and gave you an energy card. This is admittedly one fewer cards you're looking at, but it's a Pokemon that you can use over and over again rather than a single-use item, and Energy Lotto saw a lot of play from decks that relied on special energy. I see no reason why this wouldn't either. I am kind of in love with this card, because this is the kind of card that just makes deck building better, and it makes decks more consistent, and that's got to be a good thing. I love you, Celebi. But I'd like to know if you love Celebi. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.